In 2018, NATO bombed Syria after what was reportedly a chemical weapons attack that was blamed on the Assad government in Syria, and this was supposedly backed up by a report by the OPCW, or the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. And so that OPCW report was used to justify bombing Syria at that time. But what has now, this is from Mint Press News and Alan McLeod. So it's basically, there was a whistleblower from the OPCW that came out, I should say, and said that key information about the attack had been suppressed to favor a preordained conclusion. Basically, that information was taken out of this OPCW report to, support the conclusion that the Assad regime was responsible for this supposed chemical weapons attack that, dozens of people had been killed in, to, justify further, NATO involvement in Syria, in this case dropping more bombs, which obviously leads to also more civilian deaths. And it seems like one of the only few people actually on mainstream news who is willing to call this out is Tucker Carlson. So kudos to him for doing that. I find his views and opinions oftentimes very, abhorrent and, horrendous in a lot of ways. But when he is, making a good point, it's, important to point that out no matter what the source is. So like when Donald Trump goes and meets with Kim Jong-un of North Korea to try to, develop some type of peace accord between the U.S., North Korea and South Korea. I think that's super important and, should be pointed out. So this is from Tucker Carlson show, I believe, on November 25th, quote, "Universal bipartisan agreement on anything is usually the first sign that something deeply unwise, that something is about to happen, if only because there is nobody left to ask skeptical questions, and we should be skeptical of this, starting with the poison gas attack itself," he said. "It didn't matter that there was literally no evidence. Everybody in Washington began agitating for a regime change war immediately. Carlson added, becoming visibly agitated, claiming that America almost attacked a country and killed untold thousands of people over an attack that may have never happened in the first place. And then, it's very interesting, after he said that, groups like Media Matters, accused of him of spreading disinformation and backing Russian and Syrian claims, and, as well as other people like Tulsi Gabbard have been attacked, as well as the former Green Party vice presidential candidate, Juma Baraka, the journalist from the Gray Zone, Max Blumenthal, and untold others, for, questioning this narrative that we now know to be demonstrably false, and that the OPCW report, at the very least, excluded information to make it, make it seem like the Syrian regime was behind these so-called, chemical weapons attacks in the, city of Douma in 2018. So, yeah, it's just be careful, where you get your news from, who you're listening to, and if, somebody you usually disagree with, makes a good point on something, in this case, Tucker Carlson, then, it's okay to point that out when they do, and then to hold them to account when they, say some other ridiculous things. Peace.